Hey guys, Dan Jerseth here. Hey, if you are hopping into this video, make sure you guys are inviting your friends and people to the Realtor Chat Mastermind Facebook page. We are going to be hosting two different mastermind events actually here locally in Eau Claire. So if you're from outside of the area, you're still invited. You can invite your friends and family. What we're going to be doing is basically bringing other agents who are really great, awesome, amazing people, good producers. They have good careers in real estate. A lot of them have been in the business for less than 5 years and are really game changers in our marketplace. And they're willing to open up to really help anybody figure out how they should succeed in this business too. This is not brand relevant, so anybody who is part of any brokerage is open to speak and open to participate and join us. And the big reason why we're doing this is locally here in our area, there's not really many mastermind group styles like this that any brand is kind of open to, or from any brokerage is really open to joining. So that's why we're doing this. I know I've gone to a lot of conferences and events and masterminds around the country, some as close as Minneapolis, St. Paul area. However, nothing exists like this that I know of personally in the, western central Wisconsin area. And so that's why we're trying to bring something like this locally here, so that we can bring more value to you guys and hopefully network and get to know each other a little bit more. I know we all do business together, and it's always good to network and be able to work together and to help each other out. So hopefully I see you guys at the next event. The best way to track when these events are is simply by joining the Realtor Chat Mastermind Facebook page. So if you're watching this, you're probably already part of the page. But if you're not following that page already, just go to Facebook. I'll actually put the link down in the description here for that page. It's called Realtor Chat Mastermind, spelled just how it sounds. Put a request to join in, and we will get you added to the private group, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out. Hello, guys. Dan Jerseth here coming at you. I am going to be talking about my favorite book today, Atomic Habits. And you've probably heard me talk about habits before, because I'm huge onto them and always continuing to try to improve my own personal habits. And it's a very common conversation with our team. Focus on having conversations about habits and values and all these different things all the time. It's important. And I'm going to pull up my notes here. So I actually went to a conference last week in San Diego. You probably saw my email last week about, if you happen to be on my email list, you probably saw my email about my notes. And I'm actually going to go through the same notes and do a little reverse conversation. So I'm going to look at my notes and kind of talk. I'll probably pull out 3 or 4 of them and just talk about that. So let me pull these up quick here. And I hope you guys are having a good week. It's starting to get warmer out here, and can never complain about that, can you? Alrighty, so I found my notes here. Okay, so Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books. If you guys have ever read the book, you'd probably understand why it's such a great, impactful book for people's lives. The whole concept of the book is tiny habits equal remarkable results. So they mostly talk about how it's little things done compounded over time that equate to very large results over time. So, for example, in my life, as a salesperson, having conversations and meeting with people and networking with people is one of the most important things that I do in my life in order to compound my results or success, or however you want to look at it. You could apply that to anything, whether it was business, your personal relationships, your fitness, your daily H2O intake, whatever you want to consider is your success or thing that you want to try to get a result in. What I applied to is fitness and my business. So focus a lot of my time focusing on what kind of habits do I need to instill into my daily life, my weekly life, my monthly life in order to continue to run a healthy business and healthy lifestyle. So, Atomic Habits, here are my notes, and I'm just going to jump right in here. So, first thing I wrote down is excellence is not about radical changes, it's about small incremental changes compounded over time. So, what I take out of that is when we think of success or very highly, highly successful people or people who are seem to us very radical or so far from us as far as like successful terms goes, we have to realize that most of the time, obviously there's outliers out there, but most of the time when those people are at those results, it's because they've done something different than you daily for 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 years. And it's not something that you can just recreate overnight. I know I find myself comparing myself to other agents around the country who are run massive teams, or another realtor in town who just keeps taking listings over and over and over again. And you're like, how the heck do they get all these listings? You're kind of twiddling your thumbs like, what are they doing? Well, the truth is that they're probably doing a couple things differently on a consistent basis, networking with people, getting out and about, having phone conversations with people, following up, sending Christmas cards, whatever it might be. They're probably doing something more consistent than you are. And they probably have been compounding that thing over time longer. Or you could apply to the gym too. How is somebody doing this? How is somebody so fit, and how come I'm not fit? They're probably doing something not that crazy. It's all about small little changes over time rather than some huge massive thing how they got there. So my next thing is stop worrying about our current position and spend more time thinking about our current trajectory. That one hits home for me. If you're like me, everybody compares themselves to other people. We all are like, okay, and then you look at somebody else on social media and you look back at yourself and say, man, why am I not there? Well, we really should be changing our mindset and saying, yeah, I might not be there yet, but what is my trajectory? And what are the things that I'm doing on my daily basis that's going to bring me closer to that result or that trajectory? So if my trajectory is going upwards, that's where I want to be. I can't control where I'm at right this exact second. Yes, my actions in the past have all controlled how I've gotten up to this point, but at this point, there's not really much I can do to really change what my result is in the next 5 minutes, right? Maybe I can change my results in the next 5 days or next 5 weeks or 5 months or 5 years. But realistically, stopping and saying, okay, this is where I'm at right now and I don't really like it, that's a good wake up call, but it's not really necessarily useful for you. What's more useful is to say, where do I want to be in 5 years? So if you haven't figured that out yet, stop and say, okay, what do I want my results to be? What do I want my life focus to be on? And you don't just have to pick one, right? You can pick family, your health, your business, whatever it might be. Maybe you want to get really good at crocheting. Like, okay, cool. What are we going to do if we want to compound your success in crocheting? Okay, maybe that's making sure that you sit down for 10 minutes a day and spend time doing your thing. So yeah, focusing on trajectory rather than current position. I think all of us a lot of us put a lot of emphasis on our current position, but then we don't do anything about it, which would be increasing our trajectory. So that's why that would be my second thing I want to share with you guys. I'm sure everybody can relate to that one. Again, here's another note I took, align your daily habits with your desired income, which is basically what I just said. Okay, if I want to be more healthy, I probably need to quit drinking so much. For example, one of them could be, I need to stop drinking so much. Okay. Cause alcohol, number one, it's empty calories. Number two is it's taking time away from, I could be going on a hike during the same time I'm drinking, or I wake up more groggy the next morning. So when I drink the night before, maybe it decreases the chances of me getting into the gym by 50%. So it's really a double whammy. Drank, empty calories, didn't get as much good night's sleep. And then I woke up in the morning, I had a 50% less likely chance of making it to the gym. So it's kind of a compound effect here of this one habit there's one little thing that drinking doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to have shitty health, but the drinking has a compound domino effect of other things that it causes in my life that cause me to be unhealthy. So what are the little habits throughout your week or your day or your month that you can eliminate or add into your life to bring you closer to your desired result, whatever that might be? Okay, here's another good one. A habit must be established before it can be improved. We all want to jump into something full force. So we're going to be healthy, right? I have lived my whole life with hearing people say this. Uh, Somebody wants to get healthy. So they go from eating burgers, drinking beer, this unhealthy, not exercising, into I'm going to eat 2 celery sticks a day. I'm sure everybody knows somebody who goes to those maybe you're one of them, goes to those extremes of like, oh yeah, today I'm eating 2 celery sticks today and 3 carrots and a glass of water, right? And then obviously they can't sustain that because it's so freaking extreme that you're not going to do that mentally. You just can't do that. And then they go back. They're eating the potato chips and the Doritos and the hot dog, like everything unhealthy, and they go back and forth, back and forth. Whereas, okay, if we're starting at point A right here, and we drink, we have a Doritos, we have pop in our fridge, we have beer in our fridge, like we have all these unhealthy things. What's one thing we can do this week that eliminates a little bit of the unhealthy choices so that we can go again, point our trajectory upwards into getting into the healthier habit lifestyle? And that's a health reference, but you can apply it to everything, whether it's your relationships or your business. So what I would do in that situation, if I were in the habit of um, making unhealthy food choices or drinking choices or not exercising, or maybe I get home and immediately my habit is to turn on the TV and watch Netflix, and then before I know it, I've watched 3 hours of Netflix and I didn't do anything actually healthy that I want to get to. That's my goal, right? And it's just human nature. That's what a habit is. A habit is something that you do with very easy, like easy, like you usually do it because it's just a habit. Like for example, um, when for example, like I know a lot of people who, when they drink, they'll smoke. Like I'm one of those people who, if I'm drinking, I want to smoke, and not necessarily a good habit to have, but it's a perfect example of like it's a human tendency. If this, then that. So you almost stack two bad habits on top of each other. For example, you come home after work, you're stressed out. You know you should probably eat a healthy dinner and get some exercise, but your habit is to come home, turn the TV on, and grab a Coke and grab a bag of potato chips and watch an episode of Netflix, which just compounds into the rest of the night not being as productive as you wish it would be. Rather, let's say when you get home that you didn't have any Coke in your fridge or whatever, and maybe that would be step one. Instead of sitting down and drinking a pop while you're watching Netflix, maybe step number one is just taking that pop out of the equation and drinking a water or a protein smoothie or whatever it might be. So in my example of unhealthy habits, let's say you are wanting to get healthier, and you want to start compounding that. One example would be, instead of going from point A to point B, like Z, eliminating each celery only, maybe instead of that, take up whenever you're craving a pop, you grab you have a glass of water. That way you're at least not thirsty anymore, right? Like takes that craving down, and at least you're drinking something. Or instead of pop, have a meal, which is 0 calories, and put a little water flavoring in there. Whatever thing would actually help you in the long run. One of my favorite things to talk about on habits, because a lot of people don't really necessarily understand habits that well. And I've read a couple books. Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books about it, which I'm referencing in this video. The second book that I've really loved that have instilled habits, the mindset and knowledge of habits in me, is The One Thing. So the one thing is all about what's the one thing you can do every day, compounded over time, makes everything else easier, unnecessary. And I'm not going to get too deep into that book review, but I do want to talk about this specific thing of, at first, a habit is going to be hard to instill. Like going to the gym, the first couple days you try to get yourself to the gym is going to be more difficult than if you had been there for 3 months or 3 years, right? It's just going to be part of your routine after 3 years. It's going to be part of who you are. It's going to be part of your ingrained in your calendar. It's going to it's like brushing your teeth, for example. You feel weird at night if you went to bed without brushing your teeth, and you begin to feel weird when things are habits. You feel weird if you don't make it to the gym that day. So you're just naturally compelled to go to the gym. You're like a robot. Like you wake up, you brush your teeth. You probably don't even remember brushing your teeth this morning because it's a habit that your body almost does without necessarily using a shit ton of discipline. So there's these lines. I love this graph I've seen in the past. I don't have it on me right now, but when you first start something new, it's going to take a lot of discipline because you don't have a habit for it. But slowly over time, let's say a week later, it takes a little bit less discipline and it's a little bit more of a habit. A month later, it's even better. It takes a little bit less discipline and it's even become a little bit more of a habit. 2 months later, your discipline is almost even level with your habit. And then 3 or 4 months later, it's become a habit. So this is where the line actually crosses. It's 66 days. It's been proven. 66 days in, your habitual life will actually take over your discipline. So it'll be more of a habit and take less discipline to get to the gym or eat healthy or, have a phone conversation with somebody that you want to have a phone conversation with, whatever. The habits will actually overtake the discipline. And that's when you have a lot of power. The problem is those first 66 days take discipline. So yes, you need to be a little bit disciplined at the beginning. But the crazy thing about compounding habits and why some people are so freaking successful, and you're like, how the hell do they do it? Like they've only been doing this for 5 years and they're freaking further than me. Like it just doesn't make sense. It's because they've learned how to overcome the discipline for long enough for that thing to become a habit. The reverse can happen as well. So a bad habit, once you've done it for 66 days, has become a bad habit and is not going to take you. It's obviously, it's ingrained in you. So I actually have a graph here I'm going to share with you. It's called the power of tiny gains. So you can either get 1% better every day by choosing to compound a good habit, a 1% improvement every day at the end of the year, but doing it 365 days would gain you a 37.78% X on your investment. So this isn't necessarily some like scientific, like, 37.78. It's just showing you if you get 1% better every single day throughout the year, how that habit or your life will actually compound over time. It's a good graph. To me, I want to start compounding my habits in a positive way so that 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years from now, that I'm way the hell up here. Whereas here's an example of a bad habit. For example, a bad habit. So good habit would be drinking a glass of water every morning when you wake up. A bad habit would be, instead of drinking the glass of water, you go for a can of pop. The first thing you do in the morning is you drink your can of pop. Okay. What happens if you reverse that and you get 1% worse every day? The opposite actually happens. You actually end up grounding out to this very low level here. And so it's not and here's the shitty part about this is a week into your shitty habit, you're not going to notice any difference. 2 weeks into your shitty habit, you're not going to notice any difference than if you drank a glass of water every day, or very minimal, right? You're probably going to look the same. You're probably going to feel mostly the same. You're probably going to not even be able to tell a damn difference. But think about this. If this is compounded for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you're 100%, 1,000% going to be able to tell a difference between you choosing a glass of water when you wake up than a can of pop. And that shouldn't be rocket science. However, the rocket science behind it is the awareness, being aware that those little things over time in the long run compounded will have a massive effect on your life and your health. The unfortunate part is when we're in the weeds or we're in the process of making those decisions, it's very, very hard to make a mental it's hard to mentally see how the long-term effects are going to have because we're not out 5 years from now, so we don't really see how our body compensation how our body composition will change over time, because it's very, very small over the long period, just like a 1% increase. If you've ever been around somebody, well, if you ever, for example, when you're around somebody every day, you don't really notice that their hair grows over time, right? You don't even really necessarily notice it because their hair grows so small over time that you don't really notice their hair growing. However, as soon as they get a haircut, you notice right away, right? It's the same exact concept of something changes so slowly over time. Grabbing for that extra can of Coke or grabbing for the extra donut or, doing these little things over and over and over again. It's the exact same concept as hair growing. It happens so slow, you don't even notice it. You don't see the negative impact of grabbing for a bad type of food or a bad habit that you have throughout your day until it compounds into a point where your hair is too long, man. I need a haircut. I do need a haircut right now. It's actually getting kind of long and annoying and it's getting out of control. It's a good example. So yeah, I love that graph. I pull this one up with the team once in a while just to go over it, just to remind people, hey, what we do on our daily basis has a big impact. What else do I want to share with you guys? I'll share two more things. Using your identity. So a mind shift identity change. And I'll explain what that means in an example. So let's say you want to become a runner and you were like, I really need to start running for my health and so I can burn calories and so I can, spend more years on this earth with my grandchildren, whatever your motivation might be for wanting to become a runner. And there's two ways to say this to yourself. The first way is, the very common way is to say, I want to start running so I can become a runner, right? Like I want to start running, right? That's the first way you can say it. The second way you can say it is, I am a runner, therefore I run. Now, do you guys notice the very, very subtle difference in how I said that, or how the mindset behind that was? In the first one was, I'm not currently a runner and I don't identify as a runner, but I want to become a runner. Okay. That's a lot different when you're thinking about lacing up your shoes. I got my Hokas on right now. These are amazing shoes, by the way, if you want to run. I haven't ran in a long time, but if you do like running, if you want to get into running, buy some Hokas from the Blue Ox downtown Eau Claire. So if you want to become a runner, what do you think is the better way to think about it? I am a runner, therefore I run, or I want to become a runner, so I should probably go for a run. Well, they're a lot different. The one is identifying yourself as a runner. It's a lot less friction for you to say, okay, I'm getting out there, I'm running because I am a runner. I've done this all the time. It's almost like retraining your brain. It's like putting the energy out into the world so that the energy comes back to you and you get a little bit more motivated and you feel you belong running, rather than the later thought process is, I don't really belong running, but I want to become running. So changing your identity behind your beliefs and what your goals are will transform everything into you being able to make those decisions a lot easier. The last thing I'm going to share with you guys, and I'll close out on this, is your results, believe it or not, do not raise to the level of your goals. Your results will actually lower to the level of what systems and habits you have in your life. So if you are saying, I want to make $100,000 this year, that's great. Does that mean your results, just by thinking, I want to make $100,000 this year, do you think that's going to just naturally bring you up to this point? No. And in my first couple of years in business, I just kind of ran off by the seat of my pants and said, okay, I'm going to do this. thing and here's my goal, but I had no freaking action plan, no habits set aside, no idea even where to start or how to get into that. Um, I had no idea how to get there because there's so much to learn, right? And I didn't really have much guidance on how to do that. So I'm going to say it again. Your results don't raise to the level of your goals. They actually lower to the level of your systems and your habits. So what can you do there? Well, what kind of habits do you need in order to get your results, right? You're probably going to need some sort of lead generation habits, right? You're probably going to need to start, dialing, calling people. If you're in real estate or in sort of sales position, you're probably going to have to start following up with people or talking with potential clients or talking with your sphere and database or have some sort of marketing on social media, whatever it might be. That's going to be a habit. It can't just be one of my habits in business is I realized years ago that one of the best ways I can get free business. Well, we all think about Zillow and Realtor.com and think that we need to do that. Well, guess what? It's fucking expensive, and it doesn't get you as good of results as talking to your own people who already know, like, and trust you, aka your friends, your family, your past coworkers, your past classmates that you had in school, whatever. You're going to get a way better ROI. You're going to work with people I already know, like, and trust you. So I focused on years ago is starting to build a social media presence. And I literally would just post one thing a day. It didn't even matter what it was. I would just post something every single day. And slowly over time started building a following, building a following, building a following. And the reason why we have the most followers in Eau Claire for real estate team is simply because I started building that presence organically like 4 years ago. And if you go on my Facebook page, my personal page specifically, you won't really find many days that I miss. And yes, I might miss 2 or 3 times a month, but those are flukes. And there's many months in a row where I will post every single day continuously. And if I don't get a post out there, there's usually always a story or something. So I would actually say I probably miss less than 2 days a year. But yes, just the power of compound habits, power of compounding your habits into whatever goal you might have, blah, blah, blah. I think you guys get the habit here. If you guys ever want to reach out to me, talk about this kind of stuff, I love to talk about this kind of stuff with anybody. So yes, if you guys ever want to chat, reach out to me. Also, Realtor Chat Mastermind Facebook page. If you guys aren't already following this, make sure you follow that. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out.